I don't feel great about this. If I'm being an Oklahoma fan, I can't feel real good about it the way they've played defense throughout the year.
Welcome back to another episode of Lone Star College Football. We are joined today by Jason Watkins. How you doing, man?
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Oh, we're good, man.
Doing
Day in the
good,
neighborhood.
doing good.
Yeah.
Y'all do us a favor and go check him out on all the social media platforms. You can find him on Twitter at BirdieManDub and on YouTube specifically Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. He posts great stuff just about the whole landscape of college football in general. But today we have a Baylor is traveling to Oklahoma, take on the Sooners. The game is opening up at a 3.5 point spread, I believe, or is it moved? It might have moved. Yep, still 3.5.
That's what I figured.
So Oklahoma is the favorite. Jason, what are you thinking about this game, man?
Well, I think at the first of the year, I probably would have expected it to be maybe about that, but just because of Vegas liking them like the way they do. But I don't feel great about this. If I'm being an Oklahoma fan, I can't feel real good about it the way they've played defense throughout the year. Now, against Iowa State, it looked like the defense from the first 3 games, but the second 3 games, the defense was giving up, and actually the second 4 games, it gave up a minimum of 40 per game. So I think that this could be a game where Blake Shapen looks like a Heisman Trophy winner, or he could, obviously I think that the Oklahoma offense is going to have to look really good for them to beat this team. So I really don't have a strong prediction either way. I'd like to say that the Sooners win, but you never know.
Yeah. Logan, what are your initial thoughts?
Man, my questions with Oklahoma is their defense, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Their offense is definitely going to be something I'm worried about, especially with Eric Gray. He's looking like a really good, strong runner. He doesn't have that many touchdowns as far as rushing touchdowns, but, I mean, he's got a crap ton of yards, dude. Like, on 115 carries, got almost 800.
Yeah, man, he's been he's definitely the workhorse for that back. But they actually have some other good backs out of the backfield as well, and a couple of freshman guys that have really done well too. So it's I think the main thing with Oklahoma is if they can get their passing game going as well. They need to run it between the tackles, and that's going to be the hardest thing I think against Baylor. With the one good thing about their defense is that D line. And
Siaki Ika.
That's going to be the main problem
for y'all. Gets in the way.
It's crazy.
That dude is a monster, man. I got a picture of him at the start of the season.
He doesn't get the tackles, but he's disrupting everything that goes to the A gap.
That's what defensive tackles are supposed to do. Is they just take up blocks, and they just eat up a bunch of blockers and free up your linebackers to make plays. And I think everybody knows that Dave Aranda's defenses are just going to be unbelievable. I mean, even this year, I know that they're struggling a bit. They've got a lot of youth and things like that.
Yeah.
But I know in the Sugar Bowl last year, they took the number 1 offense in the SEC and shut them down, and that was Jeff Lebby's offense. So, it's like I said, there's no way any Oklahoma fan, I don't care what they're telling you, is feeling really good about this weekend, even if it is in Norman. So,
I'm not feeling crazy confident about it either, because if y'all do get that passing game going, it's not going to be good. Like, if we shut down Marvin Mims, I'll feel better. But like Baylor will shut down everybody's primary targets, but it's just like that second target is there. Like Iowa State, we shut down Hutchinson, but here comes Neal, I think was his last name. Yeah, Noel.
No.
Crazy on us. But
yeah, he had a pretty good game against us as well. I'll say as the I guess kind of the middle guy in the conversation, obviously I lean more towards Baylor. As far as which team I like more, I definitely like Baylor more than I like Oklahoma.
Duh.
I didn't like Baylor much last year, I can tell you that much. So it's kind of recent. Looking at the matchup, I mean, y'all both, Baylor is putting up 456 yards per game. Oklahoma's right behind them with 454. Passing, it looks like Baylor gets about 20 yards more passing. Oklahoma gets about 20 more yards more rushing. The difference is the yards allowed to the game.
I don't think that yards rushing is going to be how it looks at the end of the Saturday.
I think that the difference of
I don't know. I think Richard Reese could easily. I think rushing is the key to. I think rushing is the key to any game. You control the run. Yeah, you control the run. You control the clock. You control the game. The problem is Baylor's defense is giving up 337 yards, and Oklahoma's is giving up 438. So there's a whole 100 yards there difference.
Yeah.
And most of that difference is from the run. Baylor's only giving up 113 on the ground, while y'all are giving up 189.
Yeah, so again, that defensive line, it's hard to run against that defensive line. And I think that that's the one thing about this Oklahoma offense is that, and I know that Coach Venables really wants to start with the run. My feelings on that be, and I'm not positive about this, but this is just my thoughts. I feel like there's been times during the season where he wants Lebby to do it his way, start with the run, blah, 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 blah. And so Lebby does that. But I really feel like it doesn't really matter when or how you get your yards. So, if you're getting a good balance of it, I feel like even if it's, and I also look at passes out of the backfield as that's like an extension of your running game.
It is.
And I really feel like that's something that you should be doing if you're and when you have a guy like Jeff Lebby that is basically he's the top rated offensive coordinator in the country for the last couple of years. You know what I mean? So I don't know why you wouldn't let him go ahead and dissect how you want to do it. Just make sure that you mix in the run. You know what I mean? To me, Dylan Gabriel is as good a quarterback as there is, but really in the country as far as throwing the football is concerned. I wouldn't say he's C.J. Stroud or even Caleb Williams or those guys. He's not Quinn Ewers, but talent-wise, he's a little behind some of these guys talent-wise. But when it comes to experience and being able and knowing this offense and who's going to be open, I would let him kind of do his thing and let that dictate the pace of the game rather than we want to start off running it on first and second down. Because if you do that, then you give Aranda already knows what's coming. You know what I mean? It's not, you're not going to fool this. You're not going to fool this defense in anything doing it normal. You know what I mean? So if I'm Brent Venables, I'm this week, I'm saying, hey, go get him. You do what you got to do because we know what Dave Aranda's going to do. So, that he's gonna have your number if not. So go get him. Let's see if we can do it. This is playing chess with Dave Aranda, man. It can't be fun. Cannot be fun.
You can just listen to his his middle of the week interviews, like his media conferences. You can tell this dude's like about 4 weeks ahead of everybody else.
Bro, he's so unreal. I was really, as much as I like BV, and I do. My two choices for this job were to go after Dave Aranda or Luke Fickell. Those are the two guys that I was kind of hoping that they would go. And Lanning was right in there too. But and I like Venables. I think it was a good choice. It was a good choice for Oklahoma because of the fact he's been there and understands what it takes to or what's expected of you at Oklahoma. So, but that being said, I don't know. I think that Baylor did a really good job of getting this guy to come in. You can see what were they 2-9 the first year, and then he goes and wins the conference championship a year later. It's insane.
2-7 for that was the COVID year. That was 2020. I believe it was 2-7.
Oh, right. Yeah, 2-7. Yeah.
But I think y'all will go through the same thing. I think Brent Venables will be a really good hire for y'all eventually. I think y'all are having a lot better season than I thought y'all would have at the beginning of the year. Just with it being a first-year coach.
You wouldn't know that on Sooner Twitter. You would never know that.
I think the only thing I would be disappointed, if I was an Oklahoma fan, the only thing I would be disappointed in right now is it seemed like with Alex Granshaw's defense might have actually been taking a step. And then getting a defensive coordinator to come in and kind of changes, like, all right, this is what we're doing for 1 year. Let's switch it. That's where the setbacks are probably occurring.
Yeah, well, I think that here's the one thing I would say is even now at USC they hate Alex Grinch already.
Do they?
And the problem
But
with
USC doesn't recruit on the defensive side of the ball very well. I've
they
noticed that
haven't,
they
they
recruit
haven't, and that's the
offensively
thing is
very well.
when you think about Lincoln Riley, they really weren't either. And this is something that I've said a bunch, and I really feel like it's tough. It's tough for Lincoln as far as that goes because everybody kind of puts it on him as being the problem with defenses and all that. But they forget, and it's easy to forget this because you were winning so much. Um, and I've got my own stuff about that. But what I would tell you is that defenses were not very good in Norman for a long time. It wasn't a Lincoln Riley thing. It was a
I think that
problem.
was the whole Big 12.
Correct.
Really,
It was a while.
I agree with that. I agree that it was the whole Big 12, but you
But
can't
I think
you can't go to these playoffs and win anything
No,
if you
no.
can't shut somebody down.
That's
If
why
you don't
y'all
have
got
any
messed up
ability to do it, and they don't. They didn't.
But then that
you know?
Alabama and Tennessee game goes 59 or 52-49. They're like, oh, this is a great game. Whatever.
It was a really
I think
good
the
game.
Big 12.
it
It was.
a really
It
good
was.
game.
But when you've got a receiver who scores 5 touchdowns, it's like, come on, cover
That
that
guy
guy.
was
crazy.
yeah.
I
He
think-
looked like
I
he
think
was
we
going to win the
went-
Heisman that night.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
I think the Big 12 went through a period of time where yes, the defenses were slacking, but I think it looked like the defenses were worse than they were because the offensive production was actually pretty, like, especially for Oklahoma. Be honest, like Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray
I was
back
going
to
to say,
back.
come on, get that right.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray back to
Okay.
back with like CeeDee Lamb, D.D. Westbrook. Like y'all,
Oh, yeah.
y'all just had some crazy like quarterback
Bro,
receiver
The
combination.
Yeah,
offenses were crazy back then. That's the thing. It's
Right.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
even with Baylor, we had Bryce Petty and Katie Cannon, Corey Coleman, names
Yeah.
that haven't transitioned to the NFL for anything, but in college, that we were
Man, I
great.
remember all those guys though, and even going back to I think the first time I saw a game at McLean Stadium was against RG3. I went over there and saw that year that he won the Heisman, and oh my goodness!
Oh
And they
man,
had
that was like Floyd Casey.
they were so good, dude. They were so
Yeah.
freaking good.
And
You
the
know,
first
they-
game I went to was against West Virginia back in like 2013.
Yeah.
And it was like 70-35, and Katie Cannon was everywhere. It was stupid.
Yeah, listen, they I remember that game. They beat the brakes off of Oklahoma, and it was just like we're sitting there going, "Good grief, what do you do?" Because you had with RG3, and then the receiver. He's always getting in trouble in the NFL.
Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon, yeah. Oh man, he ate Oklahoma's lunch that night, and it was just, I remember I was there with friends then too, and I mean, and by the way, what a great freaking atmosphere at McLean Stadium. I don't know what anybody thinks, but the Baylor line, all that stuff. I mean, I love that stuff. It is so fun to come and watch these guys, and even the next time I went was the year after Kyler, when they had Jalen Hurts, and they were down 28-7 at the half, came back and won. And I was getting ready to leave because it was cold, but it was it was a fun. It was they came back and won, and so we stayed. But I really like it, man. I think that being right there on the river, like I love you guys' background and everything. That's a cool stadium, and just a good atmosphere, fun place to watch football. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. But man, I think we should just go ahead and move back on to this to the game that's happening this Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that.
I was gonna say,
No, it's all good.
that
That was both of us.
we could get into a score prediction. Does anybody have any idea of how they think the game? I've got one, so I can go. I give y'all a second to think.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say.
I'll give away one of my picks for our Locks pod. So this, like I said, Baylor in Norman, 3.5-point favorite for the Sooners. As badly as I hope the Bears come away with it, I think Oklahoma's got this one. I think Dylan Gabriel coming back. Y'all were able to play Dylan Gabriel played against Kansas, right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They put up 700
For y'all to score
in that game.
50, for y'all to do that, there's no way. That offense pulled it together once Dylan Gabriel came back. Although I do think Baylor is a more well-rounded team than Kansas. Obviously, I mean they beat Kansas. I think Oklahoma's, especially with it being at home, I think that's really if it was in Baylor and it was a pick 'em, if it was in Baylor, if it's in Waco, I'd probably lean Baylor. But my score prediction is Oklahoma wins 38-34. I think it'll be close. I don't think the defenses will let this game get too out of hand as far as a shootout goes.
Right.
But I do think there's going to be a decent amount of points scored.
Okay. Go ahead. Second half there, Mr. Logan. What do you got? I know you're going the other way here, so.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's gonna be a close game.
Yeah.
I'm predicting a little bit more points. I'm thinking more like 42-38. Like, yeah, I think it's gonna be somewhere around there. I think it just depends on if our defense shows up like last year. Like last week, it can either be a real close game. Even if it is close, I think Baylor pulls it off, or it could be a really bad game for Oklahoma. Because if they can't,
I don't see that happen.
Richard Reese, dude, it's.
Listen, I don't know. I kind of feel my feeling on that is that you're going to have to. If you don't stop the run, then you just got to score with them. And one thing that I do know is that that's one thing that Oklahoma can do is that they can score.
Yeah, true.
So I'm not as concerned there about being able to. Because I mean, if you're expecting Oklahoma to win in any way, shape, or form, you're not having expectations of them stopping anybody on defense because they haven't. They just really haven't. Ever since those first 3 games, they really just haven't been able to stop anyone. So to me, I definitely feel like this is probably a shootout game. I would even go so far as to say I feel like it'd probably be like I think your score's pretty close right on. I would probably flip it the other way. But I would go with like, let's say 49-40, 49-46, 49-40. Let's go 49-45 just for,
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad score prediction either. I mean, if it comes out to where it is a shootout where it's Blake Shapen versus Dylan Gabriel just slinging, which I don't think that's how Baylor's going to come out rocking. I think we're going to run the ball, then work the play action for sure. We have so many different targets. Like last week against Tech, we saw Hal Presley go stupid last week. Gavin Holmes was kind of just taking the back seat. But
they got a bunch of young receivers there, right? I mean, they're all guys that nobody knows who they are. So it's like, and they are. It's one thing like their recruiting is they've kind of jumped things up a little bit there,
we haven't been getting the stars. We've been getting guys that will fit what we want, which I like. But then again, looking at recruiting,
More important, to be honest.
Look in College Station and tell me how the stars work. Okay.
Yeah.
So
look in Austin and tell me how those stars are working.
Same thing, man. No doubt. I mean, this is the first year, and this is one thing that kind of drives me crazy about Oklahoma fans is that everybody's freaking out over certain guys we're not getting these guys and all this stuff. First off, the portal, I think the portal is going to be great for teams this year that are like on the verge because, first off, Aggie is going to fill the portal. They're going to fill the portal. That's all there is to it. And so whether or not these guys are fits at certain programs is going to be the next question.
Yeah.
I know it seems like to me, like, you look at schools like, and even to an extent, Texas, which I think that they would probably take a few guys that they feel like is going to fit whatever offensively Sark wants, and then defensively, when you got Patterson, he would know who you want. You know what I mean, and who you're going to want to pull. Yeah, linebackers for sure. But he's going to say, hey, we need this guy. I mean, those defensive linemen, that's who Venables and them are going to be after. They're struggling to pick up those guys. But I also feel like you can't just recruit based on what their rankings are and things like that. I think that the big one that Oklahoma missed out on was Hicks. They thought he was going to Oklahoma for sure. And then I guess 10 minutes before he made his choice, this bag of cash from A&M showed up. So, that's what happened.
I've seen a lot of reports saying that they don't think Hicks is going to stay committed to A&M. I think there's only a part where that money matters, but when you are a player with that caliber who's used to winning, you're not going to a team whose offense is so bad. It doesn't matter how good their defense is.
Yeah, that's pretty much
and I think it did a lot of that's going to depend on whether this rumor about Jimbo going to West Virginia is true or not, and they're going to buy him out or any of that kind of stuff.
Is that
I think
passing around now? Is that actually going
it's
around?
been out a little bit. I don't know
I
how.
mentioned it the other day. I haven't seen it. I haven't really seen anything.
I saw a couple of guys on a couple of guys on YouTube. There's a couple of guys that have that you're hearing it now. Nobody's saying it like that it's a definite thing or anything like that. And I don't think that it's definite. I think that it's all going to depend on what number can they decide on that A&M can handle on the buyout and that Jimbo will handle. You know what I mean? Because I think everybody knows they're not going to pay him $86 million to leave. They're not going to do it. They'll suffer through it and tell him whatever. Not that he necessarily has to make any changes because he doesn't have to. I mean, what's the impudence for you to change your offense if you owed $86 million? You can fire me, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not changing it. You know what I mean? Go ahead, because I'll get paid.
I'll walk around with this full binder and everything.
Right, but according to what I'm hearing, Jimmy Sexton has been in College Station for the past week. That's obviously his agent, and so it seems like maybe they're negotiating some kind of a buyout. If that were to happen, you would almost for sure see a bunch of guys hit the portal. But that being said, it'd be a surprise to me, really, because I don't think that you can get rid of them. But I do feel like if all this stuff is going on the way it is, that something's going to happen, that there's going to be a bunch of guys that leave no matter what, especially these guys that he keeps on freaking kicking out. That's twice that he's suspended 2 of those guys. So it feels like you're definitely going to get some of those guys. But that being said, I think right now, if Oklahoma fans are freaking out about it and calling for Todd Bates, that's the next video I'm making, is about that they're giving Todd Bates a hard time about these D linemen that we're losing to guys like Ohio State, which Larry Johnson is probably the godfather of defensive lineman recruiters in the country, period. So it's and then of course it's Ohio State, and then to Alabama. They're losing defensive linemen right now to Alabama and Ohio State, and everybody's freaking out, calling Todd Bates the worst in the country. And the dude was the 2020 recruiter of the year because they had the #1 class at Clemson, and mostly with his guys. It's silly stuff. That you even have to speak of these things is ridiculous, but you do. It's just Twitter is a weird place, man. Weird place.
Sometimes it's not a good thing that people can post their opinions for free. So some people's opinions are stupid.
Yeah, the First Amendment's cool and all, but
you get one chance, and after that, stop.
Yeah, dude. Just and that's the other part is everybody just wants a bunch of clicks and things like that, and for whatever that's worth. I have a hard time with it, and it's hard to not engage with it sometimes and call him a moron, but sometimes you just have to not. But there was enough of it going around about Bates yesterday that I guess I have to address it, so it's going to definitely go on. It's definitely going to be on there. But listen, I feel like the Baylor is. I think this is going to be a good game. I'd be lying if I told you that I was comfortable with Oklahoma winning it. I do feel like they probably will, because you seem to see a turn there. That there was, for weeks, it looked like somebody had kicked Brent Venable's dog. Right now, he's at least looks like he's more happy. He was talking about him and Aranda are good buddies too. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think it ought to be a fun game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, especially with it being at 2:00. Yeah. I feel like that's a great time. It's not at 11. Nobody has to rush home if they have to work weekends to make it to a 6:00 game. I think there's going to be a lot of people watching this game, and I think it's going to be a good one to watch. The one thing I hate is that it's on ESPN Plus.
Is that so? It's just the pay-per-view part, right? Huh?
It's just ESPN Plus.
Yeah, I won't be able to watch it then.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I can watch it, but I still. That seems weird to me because you're talking about the 2 teams that have won the most recent championships. Playing, and so even though they're further down the range,
have a chance to make it. Technically,
yeah.
I mean, Baylor made it with 2 wins last year.
Right.
Thanks to an Oklahoma loss to Oklahoma State. I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, I think they threw the game. I got to tell you, I think they threw the game.
They wanted to see Oklahoma State lose. That's what it was. They knew David Aranda wasn't going to lose twice.
Listen, I think that it was really. I mean, yeah. Listen, well, they should have lost twice, bro. 4 interceptions? What are you kidding me?
Don't forget the 3 he threw in the first one.
Listen, I get it. They still busted them up though in the 3. You know what I mean?
He threw 3 picks. He threw 3 picks in the first game and still won. So really, that 4th pick mattered.
It did matter. They all mattered. And then they talk about losing by 6 inches all the time. These Oklahoma State fans are wacky though. They're
we
definitely
talked about
worse
this
than
yesterday.
We're telling you, dude. All little brothers are alike. They're all
little brothers. Yeah, they're weird, aren't they? It's just like, bro, what's wrong with you?
You never won.
We don't have a state,
Baylor,
Tech, A&M.
I don't consider Baylor. A&M is our little brother. Baylor, Tech, TCU. None of y'all. No, y'all ain't it.
No. Those are just neighborhood kids. You know what I mean?
That's just those redheaded step kids. Man, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, they're just the kids in the neighborhood. You don't really have to deal with them, but every once in a while.
We're the rich house over at the end of the corner.
Yeah.
That one, that guy. Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares until you win. You know, we usually beat you, so we don't think about it. And then you do every once in a while. You have to because. And look, Baylor is definitely. For a lot of years, I can remember when I used to cover the tech program. I mean, nobody cared about Baylor; they were just trash. And then they got really good when obviously during those years when Art Briles was there. And I mean to the point that Jeff Levy, all those guys were there. So it's you're talking about a program that they just automatically. But Art was such a good coach in high school. I mean, he had won 3. I think he'd won 3 championships in a row or something in 6A, or it was 5A then. But they were definitely at South Lake Carroll. That nobody was touching them. And then he went to North Texas and did it there too. So it was like, wow.
Then he went to Mount Vernon after everything happened at Baylor, and I don't think they won. They got really close though.
Yeah,
I think they went to the semifinals in one of the years that he was there.
Yeah, and it surprised me it took as long as it did and I'm glad that Kendall and Jeff were finally able to start getting back in and getting jobs and stuff like that because look, for whatever it's worth and what we found out now after the fact, it looks terrible what happened at Baylor during that time. And I'm not saying it's not terrible, whatever it was that was going on. How much the coaches knew or should have known is another story. I don't think that they knew as much as they thought they were supposed to. I think that there was a lot more boosters out there that were kind of brushing stuff under the rug, not letting it get to the coaches than there was, and it was that Art and those guys were just like, acting like they didn't care. Because I don't believe that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's got daughters. I don't buy it. You know what I mean?
I forgot about that with that whole story.
Yeah.
But it's just we cleared out shop on whenever all that went down. Our president was gone, AD was gone, head coach was gone. Yeah, like they had to.
They had to at that point.
You had to do it.
You got to save face at any cost. You have to.
And what the truth is, and what the narrative is, are generally not the same. But whatever the narrative is what the truth is nationally. You know what I mean? That's what you're going to hear. So I think that. I know there's still been a lot of people that weren't happy at Oklahoma that Jeff Levy was getting the job. They weren't happy about it, of him being the OC. There's enough of them that were, and they bust on him every weekend. It's definitely been a defensive issue, not an offensive issue. Yes, the offense looked like trash against Texas because they didn't have Dillon in, and their backups
didn't do anything.
Right? Yeah.
Like I threw a pass with a running back.
He didn't really help himself out by not putting in some of the younger kids that, obviously
General Booty.
General should have played. General was going to play though. He had an injury. I think he had a contact problem or something in his eye. So there was something was crazy with his eye.
Sucks.
And I think that was
his eyes saw what was happening. He said, "Nah, coach, I don't want no part of that."
That's
what happened. He said, "Coach, don't make this my debut, please."
I get it, man.
He was good at TJC. That's all I got to say.
He was. Hey, look, man. Everything I saw from General made me like him. So I think I know he definitely had an eye injury. There was something up. I don't know exactly what happened. It was something crazy. And then, but then for them to not put in, the
Nick
young kid,
Evers.
yeah, Nick, yeah, and everything that I've heard all season is that Nick's looked good. He's progressed throughout the season, and he puts him in to run out the clock. I mean, like, bro,
Yeah.
put him in. I mean, once it got out of hand anyway, let's find out what he can do. You know,
Yeah,
and
I mean, there's no harm, no foul at that point.
I didn't think that they did well with any of that, but a lot of that has to do with Brent Venables. A lot of that has to do with Levy. But I don't think that if you're going to blame this season on anybody or anything, I would blame it on none of them really. But I would blame it on definitely on Venables before I blamed it on Levy. And you know, it's just one of them deals. But fans are kind of out of it sometimes. You know, they think they get locked in on something that they hate and just.
Never.
No, never.
We're delusional? Nah, dude.
Nah,
I don't know what it is about these
coaches.
coaches. I don't know what it is about coaches and the backup quarterbacks. Because even us in that Oklahoma game, we put in Hudson Card. We didn't let him throw the ball. Hudson Card has started the last 3 games. And we put in Charles Wright.
He's gonna go start somewhere next year, bro. He's gonna go somewhere and start and be really good next year.
Do you know the only reason he's still there? Is because he's in the McCombs School of Business, and that's like a big deal. The School of Business for Texas is a big deal. So he's gonna get his degree and he'll transfer out, which I hope he does.
Anything that you do at Texas, I mean, aside from playing football these days, is going to be a good thing. You know, as far as that's a great school. It's a great school.
I hope he goes somewhere good, and I hope he enters the portal early enough to where he's got some good options because that's
doesn't open until as much as. It opens in or like at the end of the month or something like that. But he's definitely gonna have options.
Yeah, well, you know, we saw with like Gary Bohannon, and he's worse than I thought he was. I thought last year he was actually pretty decent. No, he waited so long.
They ran the offense, right offense that they needed to run.
Right.
I think that offensive coordinator is very smart at Baylor.
Made him look great.
Did
not great, but good.
Did
but he made him see him at USF. You're like, all right, no, you're bad. Your booty cheeks.
Yeah,
dude.
the USF is bad. You know, the USF.
But he waited so long because he thought he could start, and so I hope Hudson Card doesn't have that. Like, come on, you got Arch Manning and Quinn coming. Arch Manning.
I don't think that it's the same. I think that Gary Bohannon had that position, and he knew he had it. I don't think there's any way in the world that Hudson doesn't see the writing on the wall here. There's no way.
Malik Murphy will probably.
Malik Murphy too. Well. I've heard people around Austin say that he's the best one out there. That he's the best player they got.
I want to see it.
He's so talented. He's so freaking talented. He had a chance to play. Also, he had a scooter injury against Texas Tech. I think So there was a chance because when Quinn Ewers got hurt against Bama, Hudson Card came in and also got hurt. He was limping.
I thought he was going out. I thought he was going out for sure. But he played
Murphy,
great against Alabama. Being hurt.
He did. Yeah. The next week, we were like, all right, you know, is Malik Murphy might play. And Coach Sark was like, you know, here's the thing. Malik Murphy has taken great strides for being a freshman. Like, he's playing well, but he had a scooter injury. I guess he used one of those on-campus scooters and fell and hurt his ankle or something. I don't know. And it's like, come on, man. Wow. You know he's kicking himself. He had his chance.
Wow.
And I hated that. Malik Murphy is one of the biggest high school snubs, if you ask me, because he was a 5-star in California.
Wasn't he like the number 2 recruit in the country or something like that year?
He was way up there. Had a bad junior year. The whole team was bad, and then loses his 5th star. That's whatever. It's fine. Senior year, takes that same team and wins the state title, and doesn't get his 5th star back. Are you kidding me? Whatever.
Oh, that's a bunch of trash, dude. And
it's like Arch Manning being a .99 right now, 999, whatever. When he's got 30 touchdowns and no interceptions on the season.
Yeah, except for Arch, they play in the JV league over there, dude. What are we talking about?
All right, you know what? It's okay because everybody said the same thing about Bijan in Tucson, Arizona. They said, "Oh, he's playing smaller competition."
I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm just busting chops. He's a Manning, dude. I'm not really talking trash about Arch Manning.
I've talked trash about him before just to make Christian mad.
I was doing it just to kind of poke at you. But Arch Manning is a Manning, bro. I mean, what am I going to say? He's a Manning.
Bring him
So
in.
I'm going to let it go. He's playing the same competition that Peyton did and his dad and all those guys. So I don't want to.
Breaking their records, if I may add.
Yeah, he is.
I feel like I see that every other weekend.
He looks really good, man. And plus he can run a little bit, which is not Manning-like. So,
Sark won't use it, though.
Yeah. No, I don't know that you really need to, but I would say that, that's the one thing is Sark even going to be there?
I think so. I think so because if you get rid of Sark now, don't you risk losing Arch?
I do. I think you do. But I think they might be at risk anyway, because I think. I mean, I know
he's showing that he's going to be an early enrollee now. Like I think. I mean, he could. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would be a fool if I thought, Georgia just okay, we're done.
I was going to say, they're not done. They're recruiting him every day. They're recruiting him every day, and he could be definitely the missing link for Georgia. You know what I mean? Like, because
Georgia can do this with a crappy Stetson Bennett. They could.
Yeah, because Stetson's not good. I mean, he's looked better at times, but they run the ball so well that he doesn't.
He's like 28.
Yeah, bro. I'm not a Stetson Bennett guy either. And I think that really, if Kirby would allow his offense to do what Nick has, they would have won. They would have won before they did. Kirby was too stubborn for too long. Too stubborn for too long about just running the football and keeping it the old school way that Saban did. Once Saban turned the keys over to Kiffin and let him do what he wanted, they were unbelievably good. They were unstoppable at that point because they did play defense and they were unstoppable on offense too. Now you've got Heisman Trophy winners coming out, and up to that point, they never had a Heisman winner. I don't think they had ever had one at all, and now they've had what, 3 or 4. What I mean? So I think that if Kirby Smart was smart, then he would be, allowed. That was kind of funny, huh? He would be getting in a more offensive mind because the SEC is turning more in that way. Look at Josh Heupel. I mean, good grief, they immediately got good offensively.
Forget, he's a year 2 coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they just went to number 1.
That team got like tore apart after Jeremy Pruitt's that McDonald bag scam. Like that, it's honestly amazing how fast he turned Tennessee around.
Man, Josh is definitely one of Oklahoma's favorite sons. Maybe not a Bob Stoops' favorite son, but he's definitely one of Oklahoma's favorite sons. The guy has really just, even when Stoops fired him, that everybody was really pissed about that. Now that brought Lincoln Riley into the fold, but I feel like, to me, there's another guy that you could have seen them going after him and saying, "Come on," but they knew. I think to Joe Castiglione's credit, he knew they needed a defensive coach in there. He knew it. There was something they were going to have to do. Getting ready to move to the SEC, you got to get good on defense. And I agree that you're not going to stop everybody, but you got to be good enough to give up on an average week 21 or less. Because aside from that, you're not going to win in that league. There's just no way. Yeah. But I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. We've kind of been all over the map here.
It's all good, honestly. This is good college football talk now.
I can just cut around it, to be honest. I can just make 2 videos out of
it. There you go.
What do you guys think about?
We'll close it on.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, yeah. I was going to ask you I was just a question I was having for my one of the videos I'm about to do, and I'll even, if you guys want to kind of jump in on that, we can. But just wanted to kind of see, what did you think about this first set of rankings?